Hello, beautiful viewers. You are welcome to this channel. In this channel, we'll be learning about pattern drafting and making of dresses. So, I welcome every one of you to my channel. So, today we are going to be creating this beautiful design with shoulder drawstring, basque waistline, and gathers. So, remain blessed as we go into the video. So let's get into the video. What I'm drafting on this pattern paper is a upper body, that is from the half length to the shoulder, and I will be transferring it on my main fabric. I'm going to be making use of this Ankara fabric. It's about 4.5 years. So because I want the gown to be long, the one I saw was a short gown, but I want mine to be long. So I'm going to be using 4.5 years of Ankara to achieve this design. As you watch, you will remain blessed. So this is our pattern paper, and I've gone ahead to mark the starting line. Then I also mark my shoulder to the bust point, which is 11.5 inches. I as well mark shoulder to the under bust, which is 15.5 inches. Shoulder to the waist, 20 inches. Mark 5 inches from my waistline to this point. That is where I want the basque to stop, and it is measured 25 inches from the shoulder to that area. It's 25 inches. Then I'll go ahead and mark 3 inches for my neck width for both the front and the back neck, and 8.5 inches for the neck depth, and this will serve for both the front and the back neck depth. Then I'll connect these 2 points with my straight ruler like so. Okay, so I'll go ahead and mark my shoulder length. My shoulder measurement is 19 inches. 19 inches, I'll divide it by 2 and I'll have 9.5 inches. So I'll mark my 9.5 inches at this point. Then from that 9.5 inches, I will measure my sleeve length. The sleeve length I'm using is 12 inches, and I'll add 1 inch for folding the sleeve hand. Okay, for folding the sleeve I'll add 1 inch. So total measurement of my sleeve length here is 13 inches. So I found out that my camera did not capture this area. Please pardon me, but that is what I actually did. I measured 13 inches from that shoulder point. Next, I'll move over to my bust point and I'll measure my bust circumference. The bust circumference I'm using is 44 inches. I'll divide it by 4. I have 11 inches, so I'll mark my 11 inches at this point. And I'll go ahead and add my 1.5 inch seam allowance. Then at the under bust, I'll measure the under bust circumference, which is 40 inches. Divide it by 4. I have 10 inches, so I'll mark my 10 inches at this point, and I'll go ahead and add 1.5 inch for seam allowance like so. At the waistline, I will measure my waist circumference, which is the same as the under bust. It is 40 inches, so I'll divide it by 4. I have 10 inches. I'll go ahead and mark my 10 inches, and I'll add 1.5 inch for seam allowance like so. Then at this hip line, remember it is 5 inches from the waistline. I'll measure the circumference around that area, whatever I have. In my case, I have 45 inches, and I'll divide it by 4, which will give me 11.25. Then I'll mark it at that point and add 1.5 inch for my seam allowance. Okay, I will use my straight ruler to mark from the under bust to the waistline, and I'll use the curved parts of the ruler to mark from the waistline to the hip line. Okay, so guys, I noticed that my camera did not capture this area as well. I marked 9.5 inches from my sleeve length. That 13 inches I mark at the sleeve length downwards, and I use my straight ruler to connect it. Okay, I also draw a line across it and extended the point to the bust point. So I came in 3 inches inwards from that 9.5 inches sleeve opening. I marked the same thing at the bust point and at the under bust as well.
Then I use the curved part of my ruler to connect from that 9.5 inches to the 3 inches inwards at the underbust, like so. So I came down 2.5 inches from my waistline, and I'll use my curved ruler to connect it to the center of the hip line. That is to form my basque. Okay. I will use my scissors to cut from here to the underbust, like so. Okay. I'll proceed to cut the upper bodice as well. I also found out that my camera did not capture this area. I mark 1 inch as my shoulder slope and I connected it to the neck line. Okay, then I came up 1 inch at the shoulder. Came up 1 inch at the shoulder. That 1 inch will enable me to join the shoulder and to create my drawstring opening. Okay, so I'll go ahead and mark my 1 inch and connect it back before cutting it, like so. So guys, I've cut out my pattern. This is the upper one. That it's this upper one is from the shoulder to the underbust. Okay, then the second part is from the underbust to the hip line, and that is where I'm joining the gathers, which will make it the third part of the gown. Okay, then we'll go ahead and cut out this pattern on the main fabric. Remember, we are using Ankara fabric, so we'll cut it out on the main fabric.
So now I want to show you how I cut the face part of this dress. I folded my fabric into two. Then I cut the back and use it to cut the front. Why did I use it to cut the front? Because the front and the back are automatically going to be the same measurement. I'm going to go ahead and add 1.25 inches here. For the back, this 1.25 will serve as our zipper allowance. While for the front, we are going to use this to join the two sides together with 1.25. Okay, I will leave half inch down. That is to enable me join into the basque part of the gown. So that is how I cut the front and the back of the face part. Remember, our dress is in three parts. The first part is the one that has drawstring on the shoulder. That is from shoulder to under bust. The second part is from the under bust to the back's waist, and the third is the gathers that I joined at the basque. So guys, that is how I cut the upper part. Then for this second one, I'm going to be cutting it off the screen. So that is why I'm showing you how I cut it. For this part, when I place my pattern on the fabric, I'm going to add half inch upwards. The half inch up is to join to the first one. Then I will also mark half inch downwards. Okay, so I've already added my sewing allowance on the pattern before cutting it, so I'm not going to add anything by the side. Okay, then when I come here for the front part, I'm going to be cutting it direct on the fold, on this folded edge. I'm not going to be adding any allowance here. But for the back, I'll be adding 1 1/4 inch allowance, just as I added for the upper one. For the first one that we cut,
I added 1 inch for zip allowance for the upper one.
so I'll add the same thing to this part. Then at the waistline here, I'll go in by half inch. When I go in by half inch, then I'll go ahead, connect it upwards. This is to eliminate zipper bush. I'll connect it upwards and also downwards. Okay, so I'll be cutting this out, then half inch down and half inch up as my joining allowance. I think you're okay because I'm going to be cutting it offline. That's why I made this explanation.
So I went ahead and labeled them back and front, okay, so that we'll know when we are joining it. Then after labeling them, I'll go ahead and cut the facing that I will use to sew the back neckline and the front neckline as well. So guys, I've cut my facing for the front and the back neckline. Then I'll iron an interfacing to it so that it will be firm enough, okay, before I will now attach it to the front and the back neckline. Then I'll cut lining for this middle part of the dress, that is the part that has basque. I will cut a lining for that part for both the front and the back, and I'll as well iron interfacing on this particular part, this middle part of the dress. So guys, I've gone ahead to iron my interfacing on this middle part, that is the area that has the basque, for both the front and the back. I've as well cut out my lining pieces for this particular part, okay. I will then proceed to give it a good press. I've as well used my gum stay to hold the neckline in place for both the front and the back piece as well. You can see the neat finishing. I've also used gather stitch to sew here, which I'm going to join to the basque part. So I'm going to be joining this to this. This is one of the back, so I'll gather it to meet these 2 points, okay. I'll gather the one for the front as well. So then I'll go ahead and join the shoulders. This is my front piece. Remember, I added extra 1 inch for joining inside the shoulder, so I'm going to use that 1 inch to join it like so. So let me do it and show you the outcome. So guys, I've got ahead to join the shoulders. So next I will open it like so. I'll open the shoulder, then fold this inwards and stitch so that I can create the opening for my drawstrings. So I will hold it in like this, and so I'll do the same thing to this other side and to the other sleeve. So guys, I've done sewing it. There is an opening here and there is an opening here. Then I'll go ahead and cut my strap. I'll cut a strap of like 1.5 inch. Then the length depends on what you want. If you want it to be very long, you can make it very long, but for me, as I have 17 inches here, I'm going to be extending it to 30 inches. So I've cut my strap and measure 30 inches. So guys, this is my strap. Take one of them, fold it in, fold again, stitch. Then I'll go ahead and fold like so. I'll fold this side, and stitch it all through down. So guys, I'm gonna head to make my straps. So I'm going to be inserting it on the shoulder, on this hole here. That's where I'll be inserting it. If you look very well, you will see that I folded one of the edges of the strap. So I'm going to be starting from here. So this side will be showing down. Okay. Then I'm going to use my pin, 17 pin, and start from here. Start it all the way to the other side. So I'll go ahead and stitch it here so that this rope will not move. Let me send it to this side as well. So I'm gonna head to stitch here. I'll then cut off this excess. So guys, I'll go ahead and gather it. I will mark the middle. So I've already sewn this with a gather stitch. So I'll adjust it to meet with this. Okay. I'll make sure I spread it evenly. I'll go ahead and stitch it. I'll do the same to the back before joining the side. Go ahead and do the same to the back. So guys, when you are joining the gathers to the Basque area, remember to join it front side facing each other. Okay.
So guys, I'm not joining shoulder to the waist part. You understand what I mean? This is the upper part, the one that has drawstring. I've started my trap. Look at it. This is how it goes. So it's now left for you to adjust it the way that you want it to be on you. So you can as well leave it wide like so. This is how it looks. This is it. Okay. So I've gone ahead to join it to the center part of the gown. Look at it. I've joined the back to the back center. Then the front part, I've gone ahead to join it. So now I'm going to be taking my full measurements so that I will know the length of the gathers. That is the one that will complete our measurement. So guys, my full length is 60 inches. So I'm going to be placing my tape here and I'll go down, measure what I have here. Remember that it's 25 inches that we took, and that is what we have here exactly after sewing it, 25 inches. So 60 inches minus 25 inches, we have 35 inches. So that means I'll be cutting 35 inches for the gathers, and I'll add 2 inches for both joining and for hemming the down part of it. So guys, to cut the gathers, I'm going to fold the remaining of my material. As I was tracing the upper part, I made sure not to tamper with what I will use to do my gathers. So I left about 3 yards for me to cut my gathers from. So I'll go ahead and fold the fabric into 2, like so. I'll fold it into 2. Okay, I'll fold it again, that is 4 folds. So guys, I'll fold my fabric into 4. Look at it, into 4. Okay, I'll go ahead and measure 35 inches from down to up. Measure 35 inches, and I'll add 2 inches for both hemming and joining it to the upper bodies. I'll take the same measurement here so that I'll have a straight line. Then I'll join this to a straight ruler. So because of the Basque waistline, I'm going to be coming down by 2 inches here. Yes, so that it will relax well. So I'll mark 2 inches here. Then I'll use my curve ruler like so and connect it back to this line. You see what I'm doing? Like so. Okay, so I'll blend it well. There will not be sharp edges. You understand? So that it's going to relax well on my waist after gathering it. So I'll go ahead and cut it out. So I'm going to sew it with a gather stitch. Then I will now draw it to fit in. I'll draw it to fit in the upper bodies. That is after joining the upper bodies. So guys, I'll go ahead and join the two sides. The 1.5 inches allowance I gave when I was cutting the pattern, I will join it with that 1.5 inch. I'll join the two sides. Then I will use gather stitch to gather it. Then I will draw it to fit in to this to the upper part. I will make sure that it will not gather on one side more than the other. So I will do that and I'll come and show you the results. So guys, if you have been with me to this point, please subscribe to this channel for more videos, like and share. Okay, so let's go on to our machine and gather this down part, then come back and join it to the upper bodies. So guys, I've gone ahead to join my gathers to the upper bodies. And this is how it's come out. Okay, so I'll go ahead. I'll sew it from where my zipper will stop to the end. That's it. So I'll go ahead and insert my zip. So guys, I've gone ahead to attach my zipper. I've as well hemmed the down part, folded it and I hemmed it. Okay, this marks the end of this video. I hope this tutorial was helpful and I wish you well as you go ahead to make yours. See you in my next video. I love you all. Bye bye.